think we're back. I think we're back. Yep. So we had a bit of a stream hiccup, but it looks to be fixed. Now I apologize if on the image capture you might see a little bit on bar on the bottom. We had to rebuild the framing once again, and yeah, let's just kind of move the screen over here. We had to rebuild the framing once again, just kind of quickly try and do everything again, and it's not perfect, but kind of want to get the stream back up. So welcome back. Welcome back. Sorry for that small hiccup, and if you're just joining us, welcome to the stream. This is our weekly Causa stream. This stream is a very special stream because with us here is Nico. He is our creative director, and he's going to be talking a little bit about the new balance changes. Yes, thank you. Oh, that's lovely. That's much better. A little bit higher though. There. Okay.
So, as we said before, first I want to thank everyone who's been supporting us on different ways. Dawn with her podcast "Cause I Love It" or Dragon Rider, that she has been a really good motivation for us, and she's sending us a lot of support and love from other places. Wild Speaker, that he's with us since the alpha, and now he has been helping me with some tweaks for the balancing, and also the friends from Super GG Radio with their podcast, that they review Causa and give us also great feedback. And on this time, we're going to talk about some changes. I'm sorry if I repeat because we had some troubles before, but I'll say it again. Some changes before of the balancing changes are related to some game concepts. For example, before the character concept was used for the units or the creatures, and now we're going to use the concept ally for that subtype of card, and we're going to use the concept character for the to gather the concept of leader and also the concept of ally. So now we're going to see if
hopefully the collection is loading this time. No good.
No.
It says 193 non-collectible cards.
We're having a problem.
We're having a bit of an issue here.
But
I mean, let me try and relog real quick. Let's just kind of interrupt this process and just start it over again.
It's
There we go.
strange because
It's strange because it was working just a minute ago.
and this happens with the built-in Unity, because
Yeah.
when I play with the
You can see that's the thing about the Unity build, is that it's in progress, right? So you kind of expect it to kind of break sometimes. That's exactly why we have stable builds and non-stable work in progress in editor Unity build, which isn't even a build. But here we go. Cross your fingers. Oh, that's really annoying.
but we can open the build.
I guess we could
It's
open the
easier.
build. That might not work though. That's just so unfortunate. Okay, let's try the build real quick. That means we're gonna have to refocus the stream though, because it's not capturing the full screen. Go ahead and click start, and I think I figured it out though. I mean, I'm no expert, but I saw that he was messing around with this one, and you can just kind of click properties and then say, I want you to capture steam.exe. No, that's not the right one. Why isn't it loading? Let me just cancel here real quick. Try this again. We got this. Just a second. Here we go. This one.
Yeah.
Here we go. Okay, now we're talking. Yes, this should work. We can just log in with your account. That's probably fine. Okay. Should work. This is gonna work this time.
Yeah, this is the build.
There we go.
So
there we go.
this is the build, and we're now going to play with my user. Are you seeing well the game?
Does everyone see this game? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, we can't see the chat with this setup, since just kind of
But
rushed it in, but
I'll be with my phone,
that's
so
clever.
don't worry.
So, what we've got for you today in the stream, we're talking about the different cards and how they've changed some concepts. So, during the beta, we had a concept of the characters, right? And the characters were these cards. They have their attack and defense, and leaders would play characters, and characters could select maybe for example any
Mhm.
target, right? So targets would be both leaders and characters, but that was kind of confusing because characters kind of includes leaders. So we've changed that a little bit. So now the concept of target is now the character. As you can see right here in the Nalarian Herbalist card, she has +2 resistance to any character. That means you can give +2 resistance to an ally, which are the X characters, or now these kind of the units you have in game. Or you can also give +2 resistance to your leader, who is also a character. You get it?
Usar, also one of the alpha players, he noticed some of the balance changes. I think that you're talking about the trinket vendor.
The Trinket Vendor, yes.
So-
Trinket Vendor used to be my favorite card because it was so unbalanced.
Yeah, it was so broken, but now it's playable, and it's playable for the opponents also. So that's a thing that we need to procurar,
Make sure.
make
sure
sure.
of.
Yeah, and I'm going to use also this example of balancing to also teach another change of concept. Before on the closed beta and before we used we said uh, plus 2 cards to your deck or minus 1 card to your opponent's deck.
That's kind of wordy.
Yeah. And also it doesn't have some metaphor. The mechanic is it's a metaphor of something, but that mechanic hasn't a name. And with the feedback that we received from you on the closed beta, we decided to change the concepts. We also asked on our Discord channel if you what concept could be better to explain what we wanted to say, because all cards in Causa they are a metaphor of resources. So your deck is your resources to come, your hand it's your actual resources that you can use right now, and the board means the resources that are right now deployed for you to help, and the cards in your cost are the resources that you send and dedicate to reinforce your ideals and what are you fighting for.
Right.
So now the change of concepts are gather means when you recover cards from your discard pile to your deck. So before what was plus 1 card to your deck, now it's called gather n, gather 1, gather 3, etc.
Right.
And the
Other side of the coin,
yeah,
I guess
the
you could say.
counterpart, it's expand. Expand means that you're going to destroy cards from from some deck. For
Right.
example, the Mercenaries have the mechanic that they have stronger stats for lower level, but in exchange of that, they have the expand ability for their leader.
Right. So
So
you kind of have to pay for their service,
exactly,
right?
you have to pay. So the private guard, he has vigilant on a level 1, being a 2/2 to attack and 2 resistance, and that's the stat of a card on level 2. But because he's a mercenary and he takes your money, he's able to be stronger on turn 1.
Right.
So the cards that expands and that gather are these new keywords that are main keywords also in our game.
Right. So mechanic wise, it's not that big of a difference. It's just kind of how we present the information, and it's great because it fits the new, or rather, not new. It's been all there all along, but it kind of fits a bit better with the whole metaphor of cards being your resources. Yeah. So these are the new keyword changes. We've mentioned the allies are your X characters. Characters are your X targets, expend is your X minus 2 cards to your deck, and gather is your X plus 2 cards to your deck. Right? Like in summary, I guess that covers it. So chat says precisely what I've just mentioned.
We're going to make now some travel from power to power to tell some of the changes. We're going to start with some.
Here we go.
I'm going to go from archetype to archetype.
I think you're a bit out of this focus here real quick. There you go. That should be it.
So we're going to start with the laborers.
Laborers. Good old laborers. I used to have a laborer deck. I'm not sure if I ever played it on stream.
I really like the laborer deck. It's a strategy based on holding and also to produce resources like supplies. That it's this card that it's a low cost support that can heal any character. And you have different cards on this archetype that can interact with the supplies. For example, you have the Cydalian Innkeeper that their stats have changed. Previously, it was a 4-1-5, I think, and now it's a 3-2-3. It's more playable, and also has a lot of synergies with different cards on the same archetype. Hey guys, this looks so good. Thank you, Super GG Radio. I don't know if you were on the start of the streaming, but thank you so much again.
I just realized Super GG Radio. I was reading it Super Gradio.
Why?
I'm an idiot, that's why. Yeah, no, Super GG Radio. There, it makes perfect sense. Welcome. Yeah, my mistake. But yes, welcome. Thank you so much for your support.
So now we're talking about the laborer strategy. We have the supplies that are produced for different allies. For example, the Venetian fisherman, the cereal farmer invoke 2 supplies, being only 1 card. And you have also other cards that works well with having supports on the board. For example, we have the Wall Builder, that its initiative +1 resistance for each friendly support to your resistance. That means that you as a leader, you can increase your maximum resistance when you play this card. And if you have a lot of supplies, like for example the cereal farmer, you can have up to 4 when this card enters the board.
Yeah. So I mean, his whole analogy is wall builder, right? He comes in, he builds the wall, and you get stronger for it.
Usar is asking about the Fruit Gatherer, that it was a card that has initiative, invokes a supply. It's going to be on the first expansion of the game. We have on the closed beta, we have more cards that we're going to have on the launch. Now for the launch, we're going to have 265 cards that it's already, and that's going to be all the cards for the beginning. And we have other cards that we've been testing on the closed beta, and we're going to be also testing on different stages, maybe on the demos that we're going to announce soon, I hope. We're going to put these cards even if they are not going to be on the first edition. So the card exists, but it's not going to be on the starter set.
That's right. So Dragon Rider just subscribed. So thank you very much. Thank you very much for subscribing.
And so I'm going to continue with the labor. I'm going to be a little faster. Also, we have the Master Builder, that it has a change on their ability. Previously, he increased their own attack, relating the supports on the board. But now he stays on the board, and helps you to survive if you have more supports on play. At the end of your turn, if you have 2 or more supports, +2 to resistance.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Since you've got the wall builder who helps you when he comes in, and the
Exactly.
master builder who helps you constantly. Yeah.
Uh-huh. So these two are related and works very well on the same strategy. And works well with the cards that invoke use supplies, but also like the Talarian Mule Driver that invokes goods, that it's one of the another basic support. So you can play it as for the Innkeeper with supplies or with the goods on the Talarian Mule Driver. And
think-
also,
I think Goods changed its name, right?
yeah, that's something
Yeah.
too. Previously, goods was called resources, but resources was too general, and every card represents a resource on Causa.
Right.
So it wasn't too good to have a card called as the metaphor of every card. So goods was more precise, and it's better to separate the concept of supplies that comes more with the with food or basic needs, and goods like more you have your properties in some abstract way that you can use it later.
Right.
So that's why goods gather and supplies heal.
You know, I know you don't like to toot your own horn. I'm not sure if you understand that expression, but
No.
alardear. You don't like to do that much, but I do want to mention that I can tell that you've put a lot of thought into this. So it really shows. It really shows. I like the new synergies as well. I haven't really looked into these new cards. I've been working on other parts of the game, not really much seeing the cards as so much. So it's really nice to see these updates and how they play into the lore of the game, the story that that is being told here.
Yeah, there is something about that because some players give a really good feedback, telling us like warning us to not fall on a thing that a lot of games do, that they have a separate lore from the main game. And I think that on the start of the design, or even on the middle design phase of the whole game, I was a little bit afraid of creating linking mechanics that are not shared with most fantasy lores.
Right.
And with that feedback, I said, "What the hell? I'm going to use what it's proper from our game." And for example, we have here the Organite Quarry Worker. The people that started with us on the closed beta maybe wasn't surprised because the Organite was already there, but other players that come from before knows that Organite wasn't a card, but was a really huge part of the lore of Voices of the Dusk as a whole. So then we started to adding cards like this, and also the supplies, the goods that for us, Causa, it's a fantasy setting, like an exotic fantasy setting, and we want to talk about power, and we want to talk about of our own fantasy, and that's what we've been trying to do with the last cards and with the different archetypes.
So if I can maybe spoil a little bit about the lore of the Organite. Organite is a mineral, but it's kind of a living mineral, and it has some kind of magical properties, right? And Organite apparently is one of the few things which is able to combat the dusk. And the dusk is, this kind of ashen wasteland that seems to be encroaching on all of the world except the last oasis of mankind in which the game takes place.
Yeah, but also it's not like a living crystal, because the crystal it's something shared with a lot of parts of fantasy, but the thing with the Organite, it's like it's a crystal. It behaves sometimes like it's a living thing. It's if it would be like a coral,
Like coral?
like coral.
Yeah, like coral.
Um,
So it's kind of alive, kind of not really alive, but it really is.
the
but
coral
not
is
so
alive.
much. Yeah.
It's a colony, but we're going to keep some of that we can speak on the lore on other day
That's
because
okay.
we need to focus. We're starting
right.
with laborer, and we have a lot to say. I'm going to to
Kind of speed forward here.
yeah.
Yeah, we're kind of getting stuck on the
How
things.
is the lore coming? Oh, the lore it's going to come on the new feature that we want to test on the demo that we are going to announce. We're not going to announce it today. Maureen, the CEO of the team, she's going to be telling when it's going to be the date. We're finishing the functionality of the campaign. That if you want to see some of it, you can see our previous video on our YouTube channel. On the streaming of the previous week, Gabriel made an introduction of that functionality.
Right. It's kind of still in progress, but it's looking pretty good, and there's a lot of place where we can start to add that lore that you guys are asking about.
Canric, it's doing some guesses about the Organite. Yeah, the Organite. I'm going to skip. I'm going to do some little spoiler. The Organite, it's yeah like the living crystal and everything, and that's why on the game, when you activate the Organite because it's a support, you grant +1 resistance and +1 play for the turn. It's like, oh, you use the power of the crystal, and oh, now I feel healthier, but also I can do more things because it has some changes. We wanted to make also that the substance or the magic substance have some alterations on your consciousness, and it's not like a soda that you can drink. Oh, now I feel better.
Right.
And if the Organite it's not used properly, it can have an over effect.
Right, like an adverse effect. Maybe you become addicted to it.
It's not only addicted, but if you have something that can regenerate yourself, if you use it more than you really need, you can go even higher and have like cancer
right?
or like a tumor or like
Gross.
mutations.
Yeah. Wow.
So it's not like, oh, I have Organite, I can use it. The leaders are exalted in power and they can use it more
Freely?
more safely.
Safely, I guess.
But on the lore, the Organite could be really dangerous used as a power, like a booster. I don't know how to say it.
Maybe like a stim pack.
Yeah, it's a strong crystal. It's not like the cute crystal of fantasy. It has consequences, and we're going to talk about it more. About we have the Organite and we have the Soul Ember.
Soul Ember as well, yeah. But I mean, I'm glad that you're into this, but we do have to kind of get on with it, right?
Yeah. So, I'm sorry. So, we have the workers, some of the other changes. We have a new character, a new ally on this archetype.
I've seen this illustration before. I'm glad it became a card now.
Yeah. We add new ones because we have different ethnics on the game, different cultures, and we wanted to present them also early. So we are now the Tercalas are one of the main. I'm talking about the lore. I'm sorry. I'm going to make another streaming someday.
Yes, we definitely need to have a stream all about lore.
Yeah,
but we kind of have to focus on the cards
so
today.
I'm sorry, but I'm going to speak mainly about mechanics on. She can be strong. She can be really, really strong. Tercalian Weaponsmith, each time you dedicate, change the attack of your other allies to X, where X is the amount of your supports. So, if you have 4 supports on the board, you will change the attack of all your allies to 4. And we have the laborers, like Burkanian Miner, draw a card and invoke Organite. So you play it and you invoke a support. You have the Telarian Mule Driver, the Vanessian Fisherman, the Cereal Farmer, and you have the Organite Quarry Worker. And also you have the event that it's the main event for the laborers, that it's work.
Obviously.
Work, it's the...
It's right there.
Here?
Yeah, there you go.
So, work. Invoke goods and 2 supplies.
Wow. Okay, so you've got like instant instant supply or support cards
Exactly. That this card is to give you sustain. You have goods to gather cards from your discard pile to your deck, and also you have supplies to heal yourself or to make some kind of combo with this new legendary laborer,
there.
Tercalian Weaponsmith. So that's part of the main changes on exactly.
Yeah. That's funny.
I'm going to go with the warriors. We have some changes here.
Some new ones as well.
Yeah,
I can see.
we have the Barosi Lancer. She's also
oh,
part
that's a
of the
cool art.
Tercala. She's a 4/2 reach. We wanted to add more cards with the ability of reach. Reach means that when she attacks on their turn, she doesn't get damage back.
Right. Consider it like ranged attack. You just kind of throw something or shoot something at
Yeah.
the enemy, and you can't counterattack.
But only when she attacks. When she's attacking.
Right.
Also, no, here some little changes. The Setoretti Sentry was a 2/2 vigilant before. Now we wanted to give it a more aggressive character. So now it's a 3/1.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe vigilant with so low resistance could be counterintuitive, but within glory you can have really strong combos with cards like this with
Right.
for example the
The Organite. I mean, if you have Organite, you can actually increase her resistance.
exactly, and have,
That would work pretty good.
but also you can give it a furious charge and you can have 5 attack on the same
That's pretty good.
turn. So let's continue with the warriors.
Come on.
Yeah.
There you
The warrior.
go.
These ones are fine.
Yeah, these aren't so.
And
that's a new one.
we have a new legendary
Wow.
warrior.
Yo, that's powerful.
Glory is your
says-
favorite.
Avenger
Great.
of Battles. Each time another friendly ally receives damage, this ally obtains +1 attack.
The Avenger of Barrows. I'm going to speak about lore. No, I'm going to save it. I think that what we can do is do some streamings, doing something like this, like going on different archetypes, but seeing each card and speaking something about each card to share some lore.
Right.
This one has a lot of things to tell, but
You kind of got to get on
Yeah.
with it.
so the ability each time another friendly ally receives damage, this ally obtains +1 attack. It's
Yeah.
a
I
really
see that
great
working
card.
perfectly with the Rain of Arrows.
The Rain of Arrows
'Cause
with
that will
battle,
damage
and
all
if
of yours
he
allies.
survive,
Yeah.
please tell me you can't hurt your own minions willingly. Yes, you
Yes.
can. You have
Yes,
the.
Rain of Arrows.
I'm going to show you right now. Remember that this is
There's
a
Rain of
legendary
Arrows.
card, so that means that you can have only one on the board at the same time. You can have 2 on your deck, but you can have only one at the same time.
Right.
So
in play.
Rain of Arrows. Deal 2 damage to all allies. To all enemy allies, and 1 damage to your allies. That
Mhm.
means that you can control that damage.
And also battle. You can actually
And battle.
do battle as well. That'll deal 3 damage to all characters, so that's everyone gets damaged, and that counts for yours as well. It's a strong combo. Loudspeaker's asking for 2 streams a week. One about lore, one about gameplay.
We're going to start changing weekly from balance and lore,
Mhm.
but let's see. Let's see.
Yeah,
Let's see
we
what's
do have
going
a
to
lot
happen.
of work to do. I mean, if we're streaming, it's a lot of fun, but this is time that I could be adding some new features into the game. So
And if you want to play the campaign soon, we need Gabriel doing that.
that's right.
Just okay again. We're going to try it. We're going to test it. We don't want to have. Also, remember that in Causa you can have only 4 cards on the board at the same time. Only for allies and only for supports. So that it's something that we want to test. We want to try, and also something that we've been saying a lot of long ago. We want that Causa it's going to be more openly to changes with the feedback of the players.
That's right.
We want to make some seasons, and at the end of each season, having the need the changes that the game need on our vision and with the vision that we are having from you on the
Right.
Discord. And
So this is an attempt to avoid power creep. Am I
uh-huh.
right? So normally you got cards, and each new edition means okay, well we need to get better cards, and then just kind of gets better and better, and then the old cards get useless.
Uh-huh.
So with this, we want to try and keep updating all of the cards in an attempt to have all of them remain competitive.
And also Causa, our idea is to have expansions, but not so big expansions because we want to add more different leaders. We want that the same game could be played on different styles with new leaders that are going to be releasing, that we're going to be releasing on different schedules. But that's another topic for another. Hi, Speed Rat. How are you? Welcome.
So let's get
yeah.
on with the missing archetype for
Yeah.
Glory, the survivors.
And the survivor, it's the archetype that has most of changes since the closed beta.
So in the closed beta, the survivors were all about discarding your opponent's deck, right?
No, the survivors were like a mid-range
Mid-range?
strategy. It hasn't like their own identity. It has really good cards, but it it was something missing. So what we have made, and I think it's favorite right now because you know the changes. While speaker, I'm talking to you. It's that now the survivors have a new shared mechanic. For example, we have some that expense, like the Mind Watchman and like the Tumerian Climber, that when they're attacked, the opponent must expend. That means that in some matches that where the things are balanced, maybe you can have some advantage by taking out the deck of your opponent.
Right.
And because it's a strategy that we're open to explore on further expansions if you would like to see a glory strategy that expands. Also, you have the Tarakian Shade that at the end of your
Also
turn, your opponent
expands.
expands one.
That's
So
pretty good.
you have those if you want to try to explore on further expansions. But the main ability that we wanted to add to have this feeling of survival, it's while your resistance is 10 or less, they obtain plus 3 attack.
Right.
This one. For example,
So they get stronger when you're weaker.
exactly.
Uh-huh.
If you need to survive, you use all that strength that we have within and they take it out to prevail.
So Speedbrat is asking what the expend mechanic is. This is a new keyword. You might have missed it. This is the one that moves cards from your deck to the discard. So your opponent expending one is good for you because that means your opponent has less cards in their deck, right?
So, survivors, Defiant Rebel, while your resistance is 10 or less, the attack obtains plus 1 attack.
Right.
Huntress of Terak. While your resistance is 10 or less, they obtain plus 3 attack and furtive.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Furtive means that they can attack ignoring the vigilance of your opponents. So you can attack wherever you want.
Right.
Agua de la llave.
Right. So yeah,
Yeah.
furtive is actually really good, especially against a lot of vigilance. I know Juanca, he likes to have a vigilant deck, so I actually made a deck of full furtives just to try and fight him off. And this one, I'm looking into this card. I'm liking what I see. This might actually work. And thank you. We do have another page of survivors.
No, here.
Oh, we're missing this one. Ointment Maker.
Yeah.
Says at the end of your turn, if your resistance is 10 or less, grant +1/+1 to your other allies.
This is a rework also. The Ointment Maker did something else previously. It has like 2 different abilities, but now it's on the same line of the archetype, having this condition that it's stronger if you have.
If you're weaker.
Exactly.
Right.
So this one can strengthen the other survivors that are with her, and also other archetypes that are on the same deck.
So this is a very high risk, high reward kind of strategy because to trigger most of these effects, you have to be really weak. And if you're weak, you're kind of, waiting to get killed by your opponent. So I'm feeling like it might work better if you had some vigilance
Mhm.
alongside. So maybe combine survivor with warriors
Mhm.
could work out, or maybe some. I know there's some cards grant vigilance, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that could work as well.
Well, speaker, it's telling some key thing. I'm going to end here, and we're
Tech
going there.
locations.
The last card on the survivor that was reworked. It's the White Forest Hunter. While your resistance is 10 or less, they obtain +3 attack and
There's the
vigilance.
vigilance I was talking about. Yeah, that's the good one.
So the survivors, they keep their like versatile character, but they are stronger also when you are weak.
Hmm.
And what Wild Speaker said, each archetype has one event that it's related to their archetype. For example, we saw that work. It's the event that doesn't say labor, but it's the work. It's what the laborers do.
Right.
Anyone can do work. Anyone can do battle. Battle. It's the event related to the warrior.
Right.
And for the survivor, we have the survival.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Change your resistance to 10, then gather 2.
Oh, that's really good. That's really good.
So this is a new cool card. It's a common. All of these are common cards. We want to have these cards dando vueltas,
Going around.
going around on the collection of every player, and also because we want to represent the kind of power that the three archetypes have. And this one it's really fun. Change your resistance to 10, then gather 2. So if you're on a late game, you can use this card to win some resistance, and also recover some card from your discard pile if you're running out of deck.
Right.
But also,
yeah,
if
I was gonna say. Also,
Please.
I can totally see a combo potential in where you actually have more than 10 resistance, but you've got these cards that have the if your resistance is 10 or less on the field. So you play survival, you trigger their effects, and then you kind of burst in.
exactly, so
That's pretty good.
you
I'm
have-
liking these changes. I haven't seen this before. I think this is really good.
and the
That's
last
wrong
thing
mouse.
that we need to show with glory are the supports of each archetype.
Oh, they have supports as well.
Each archetype has a related support. Maybe it's because you guys are not
Not native.
native.
A lot of the keywords and labels of the mechanics sound very strange or archaic. It's a bit difficult and unintuitive for me. Okay, that's interesting.
Could be. Speedrat, can you sign what are the concepts that could be improved? If
Mhm.
you please on the Discord, it will be awesome because
Yes.
here on the chat sometimes we lose the feedback, but in the Discord I can take note and do
And-
the right changes.
And
Please.
also, it's good area for open discussion as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So
we can have feedback from different players
Yeah.
as we did with the gather and the expand new keywords. So you're more than welcome to give us that feedback there, and we appreciate it a lot.
Right.
And so
We're talking about the
the
locations,
locations. We're going to start on the same order. We're the workshop. The workshop before had an ability that for the ones that knew it, it's going to be because I'm not a native English speaker, I had to search for furtive in a dictionary.
Right,
I'm
furtive.
using
Mentioning here
just now
because it's out of
because-
context. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I guess
so
furtive is a bit kind of looked into. That's fine.
we can discuss it
Right.
on the Discord. Yeah. So, workshop, its previous effect was that you can activate each support more than once per turn. I love that card, but we're going to save it for an expansion. It's a more complex card that can open a lot of possibilities.
Mhm.
We have it for later, but right now we wanted to use the workshop as something that can be used more for the laborers. And also, because you can activate your supports more than once. That means that the supports that you have must have more than one use. But most of the support that the laborers invoke are with one support. And also the strongest supports on Glory also have only one use.
Those are really good too.
So we're going to use that card for later, and also having more supports with more than
So
one use.
did the tools change as well? Because this looks a bit similar to what tools used to do.
But this one, we're going
Tools. Tolerating tools +1 use to a friendly support.
Yeah, you
Okay,
can
so
play
you can have a bit of a combo potential there. So you can actually play the workshop, then play tools to get more than one use out of the support.
Let's go with the new workshop.
Okay.
Each time you play a support, if you have a laborer, granted +1 use. So, if I have a workshop and I have a laborer on the board and I play a ballista, I will have a ballista with 2 uses.
Pretty good.
So that's kind of use of a late game labor that can survive winning resistance with the builders. You can win resistance with the supplies that you can invoke, and to leave enough to use your workshops with your heavy weapons.
Right. Right. I was thinking about the tools though, because I can also see you playing the workshop and tools to get extra uses for your supports, because the tools grant uses and it only has that one use, so then you can grant more uses to supports. So you could actually play workshop, then tools, then ballista, and then tools the ballista.
Everyone
twice.
working to make the deadliest constructions and weapons.
I'm seeing some good combo potential right here. I'm liking these changes.
Uses for everyone. And then we have the survivor. We call it locations. These are the main supports for each archetype and are the only cards that have a specific archetype to work with. Unknown territories. This one haven't been changed on English. That's good that I know it. I'm going to change. It's only text, because the new ability of this one it's that. Let me see.
Well, maybe if you mouse over it, you might get a hint about it. Everyone gets 5 hours. Maybe we should switch it to Spanish so you can remember real quick.
Yeah, I'm going to.
I kind of want to know right now.
I'm going to cheat. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We made this change.
This one, unknown. It says every time you play a survivor, if you have 10 or less resistance, invoke.
I love this new card. Yeah, I forget it. So each time you play a survivor, if your resistance is 10 or less, like the mechanic that we added to most of the survivors, you invoke supplies. Supplies, it's the. Let's go back to English. So the supply is this one. Activate. A character is healed by 3. So you can be living. You can remain alive with these supplies that your survivors are invoking. So you're getting ready the conditions to be stronger, and you're going to be trying to be alive with these supplies,
right?
Because you're surviving.
Exactly.
The survival, it's what you do.
Makes sense to me. I see this right now, and I can't help but think this, like, each archetype works well on its own, but the whole power, like glory, would work really well, because you've got the survival where you're lowering your health and kind of entering dangerous territories. You've got warriors who have a lot of defense and kind of protect you from this, and you have laborers who can generate supplies and other things to keep you alive. So all of this would work really well in combination.
Exactly. And that's where the leaders go on with the emblem of glory, the emblem of wealth. That the leaders have a decision that
invoke.
Invoke an emblem, but favorece.
It favors.
It favors
playing with all the archetypes.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So if you don't know about this one, so most leaders have this decision that allows you to invoke an emblem, and the emblem is regarding to their power. So emblem of glory, of wealth, of influence, of spirit, and all of these emblems have a condition. It says if you have a warrior, a survivor, and a laborer in play, something happens. Right? I think they get +1 in vigilance, if I'm not mistaken. But right, so you need to have one of each for it to work. So that doesn't really work with for me very much because I kind of like to have just the one archetype kind of deck because I really like that, you know, kind of all in on one thing. But this combination powers might work pretty well. Yeah, good.
And finally,
Frontier Regiment.
Frontier Regiment. Yeah, it has a little rework. Before it was level 4 and now it's level 5. Each time you play a warrior, granted +1/+1. This one worked really well on the closed beta. Hi Sub-Zero!
Hey, Sub-Zero,
welcome!
Welcome.
We're going to upload this video. We've been speaking about some news that are coming for the demo that we're going to announce.
Press the Windows key here. Real quick.
Sorry.
There we go.
And we've been
talking a lot of lore as well.
yeah. But now we're focusing. Hi, Freaky Up. Welcome to.
Welcome.
It's great to have you all here joining us.
They were confused by the time, maybe.
Yeah, maybe you were confused about the time.
We were confused.
We were confused
as well. Yeah. So time zones, you know how they work. So the stream was an hour earlier than usual because our clocks are an hour earlier than usual.
Yeah. Sorry for that. Maybe we're going to speak a little bit more this time because I have so much to share with you. So finally, the warriors on this archetype.
Frontier Regiment.
Frontier
so this
Regiment.
one didn't change all that much. I remember this card. It doesn't seem too different.
It's a level change.
Oh, it's a level 5 now.
Uh-huh.
I see. Yeah, it was a bit on the strong side, wasn't it? Yeah. Pretty good though.
And I want to ask you all, please, answer on the chat. What next power would you like to know the new changes? I don't know if we can see the 4 or the 3 remaining powers, but what do you prefer? Do you want to know the changes on wealth, where trader has a great rework? Do you want to know the changes on influence, where the intellectuals and also the schemers have some rework, or this on spirit, where the mentalist have a lot of rework?
Wild Spirit is voting for Spirit.
Uh-huh.
I mean, Wild Spirit. Wild Speaker is voting for Spirit. Yeah. Personally, I kind of want to see Wealth because Wealth, in my regard, was the strongest of them, and it definitely needed a bit of balancing. So I would like to see what happened with Wealth.
We have spirit, wealth.
Wealth is fun as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Influence. I like the schemers and the
schemes.
schemes. Yeah. I like them too. I think that the argument of wealth being one of the most strongest strategies on the closed beta is it's a
strong argument.
Yeah, it's a strong argument.
Yeah.
Let's go with wealth. So let's go with the character. So in general, wealth was a really fun strategy, but has some problems of balancing because was the power where you have the strongest OTK, and we had a problem there that wasn't too good for the experience of all the players.
I think I showed it off on stream once.
Yeah.
There's just this one combo that you just kind of draw cards and damage and draw cards and damage. You keep playing. It's a lot of fun to do, but it's no fun to get if you're on the receiving end. So kind of mixed feelings that it got patched out because I really like to do it, but then again, you know, I was on the receiving end as one, and that's no fun.
So the trader was the main rework archetype. So that's why I'm going to leave it for the end. Okay. So we're going to start with Mercenaries. Mercenaries was part of the simple strategy on wealth. Simple, like kinda because sometimes you can play stronger cards of lower levels, but new players maybe felt strange when they saw how their deck was running out faster than other card games, because the main system in Causa means that your deck is going to run out if you play a lot of cards, and it's part of the experience that we want to have here. You need to each decision means that your resources are going to run out at some point, and you need to know when to play. How many cards would you play, especially on the late game? On the early and mid game, it's usually more convenient to play everything, but on late game it's key to know when you need to play a card and when you need to stay.
Right. So in Causa, just like in real life, resources are a limited amount, so you kind of have to not spend them wastefully.
Uh-huh.
I like that political commentary, I guess. It's clever. So mercenaries, they don't seem that different. I mean, I feel like their main, I don't want to say gimmick, but their deal was that they have good value for low cost in exchange of expending your deck faster, and it seems to me like that has remained.
Yeah, almost everything. Some changes is that now some cards that were on the closed beta are not now. We have only 11 characters for each archetype. So the greedy soldier, for example, it's going to be on an expansion. It's not going to be on the starter set.
Mhm.
But we have the Rumali Pirate. That one change that it has is that previously their bonus of attack each time you draw a card due to an effect obtains +1 attack for a round. Previously it was obtains +1 attack.
Like permanently.
Yeah, and with the strategy and the loop that was generated with the trinket vendor and other cards that gave you some other extra support, means that you were drawing a lot of cards per turn, and this one was a key part of that thing. So
Mhm.
now the Remali Pirate has better stats. For 3 you have a 3/3. Previously it was 3/1, I think. Um, and now their bonus of attack is for a round. That means that if you draw a card, you're going to have that bonus on your turn and on your
right.
opponent's turn.
So
And
a
also,
round is both turns.
Exactly.
Until the start of your
if
next
you
turn, I
draw a
guess.
card due to an opponent effect, you're going to have it on that opponent's turn and on your turn.
Huh.
So that's with the mercenaries. And here we have the other change, the Frontier Raider.
Oh, that's pretty good.
The rework of this card, it's initiative, expend 2. It's a 5/6/5.
Good value.
And each time you activate goods, deal 2 damage to your opponent.
It's really good.
I'm a
That's
little bit
really good.
afraid. Yeah, thank you, well speaker. It was 2.
It was a
3, 1.
2/3/1, and now it's a 3/3/3.
Yeah, exactly. And their bonus it's only for a round and not permanent.
Right.
So let's go. Frontier Raider. Each time you activate goods, deal 2 damage to your opponent. That means that in wealth we have some cards like the profitable investment, like the reward, that
Tavern.
those both can invoke goods. Profitable investment, discard your hand, then draw 2 cards and invoke goods. And the reward that invoke 2 goods and draw a card.
Yeah.
So you can make some interesting combos with the Frontier Raider. And also let's talk about the Mercenaries location.
Oh, Grotty Tavern.
Grotty Tavern. Each time you activate goods, grant aggressive to your mercenaries. That means that the mercenaries are hungry for wealth and rewards, and reward it's the main event for the mercenaries. The mercenaries do everything what they do for the reward. So that's the basic event that they use, and it grants goods. We know that mercenaries expense a lot, so the goods help us to gather from our
Right.
discard pile.
So your deck doesn't run out so quickly.
So if you don't remember about the goods is this one. Activate, gather two. So you recover card from your discard pile to your deck back again.
So you can pay for more mercenaries.
And also we have some characters like the pack donkey and like the dromedary of Barcajal. Maybe in English you say it Barcajal, I don't know, but the main pronunciation it was think as Barcajal.
Barcajal. Maybe we should write it in with an H in
Yeah,
English.
yeah, I think so.
Maybe.
But these ones are allies, beast allies that when they are played, they invoke goods, and they as they are neutral, they can be played by any power. So that's the thing with the mercenaries. You are wealthy and literally hitting your opponent in the face with your flaunting. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I like these new changes. I feel like the metaphor in the game is clearer for the changes. Aristocrats now.
Aristocrats. We
This one was all about having cards in your hand.
yeah,
if I
and
don't
we made
misrecall.
more aristocrats with that condition. So we have some changes like stats or changes related to this condition. For example, the Lanisian Hedonist. At the end of your turn, if you have 3 or more cards in your hand, all friendly characters are healed by 2. That means you, her, and the other allies.
It's pretty good.
Austere Noble. At the end of your turn, if you have 3 or more cards in hand, gather 2.
That's pretty good as well.
The Feast Host. Initiative, other friendly characters are healed by 1 for each card in your hand. So we're
That's actually pretty
reinforcing
good.
we are reinforcing this idea that the aristocrats want to have the money on
Want to hoard all the money.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I like the feast host. I feel like that has a lot of potential because you get a lot of draw in a wealth deck, so you can actually get up to 10 cards in your hand. It's not easy, but you can achieve it. And if you have 10 cards in your hand and you play the feast host, that means you're healed by 10. That's massive.
Yeah.
I'm liking these changes.
The Rovalian aristocrat. At the end of your turn, if you have 3 or more cards in your hand, they obtain protection.
Oh, that's good too. I think protection should be in a bold.
Oh yeah.
Write that down. Can you write that down? Here, I'll write it down over here. I've got some paper. Where's the pencil? Just right around here.
Okay.
Alright.
So we need to protection.
This is the Rovalian aristocrat. It needs to be bold. Meanwhile, chat says, "Oh, heal. You're phase 2. I didn't see that before. It's pretty good." And Sub-Zero says, "Oh, that sounds very good. Only one problem left. I want to play now." Well, we'll hopefully have some news about upcoming beta events soon. Like Nico said, we are trying to finish up this important new feature, the campaign, have it nice and ready so that you can look into that come the next beta. And that should be coming along, hopefully not too far from now. But that kind of depends on our Supreme Empress Marine over here. Whenever she decides it now is the moment, then we can have the betas. All right, so Rovalian Aristocrat, gain protection at the end of your turn. That's really good.
And
Legacy plus 2.
Ciadelian landowner. So first, the Machiavellian Patriarch changed a little bit. It was level 6, now it's level 7. It's a really strong card. At the end of your turn, if you have 3 or more cards in your hand, grant +1/+1 and vigilant to your other allies. So he used the other allies to protect himself and protect you also. It's a really strong card. It's a really fun and lore card. I guess.
Lori
How can you say when a card it's
has a lot of
it's
lore.
heavy on lore with the mechanics?
It's deep, maybe, maybe. Wild Speaker says Arm Noble has changed
Yeah.
too, maybe because
Arm Noble,
protection. Oh, that's nice and easy.
it changed also. It's a 4/4 protection card. Previously, it has protection. It was 1/4 and has initiative plus 1 attack for each card in your hand. That ability it's going to be saved for an expansion because we wanted to have a simpler card for the starter set, and also the Armed Noble. It's going to be a free card that it's going to be on the new free wealth deck. So
Right.
it's that's the reason for that's their simplification.
So if you missed that little detail, many cards have a little gem right underneath their name. That gem signifies their rarity, I guess. So you have your commons, your rares, elites, and legendaries, if I'm not mistaken.
Uh-huh.
But the ones that don't have a gem, those are free.
Epica. Epic.
Epic, right? Epic. So you got the common, rares, epic, and legendaries, and the ones that don't have a gem, those are free. Those you start the game with those cards,
Uh-huh.
right? So
And the last thing, it's the Ciadelian Landowner.
that one's really good as well.
That's a rework for this legendary aristocrat. She has legacy. That means that when she is destroyed from the board, +1 to your resistance and gather 2.
Plus 10 to your resistance, not +1. Plus 10.
Ah,
That's-
+10. Sorry.
That's kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
Plus 10 to your resistance.
10.
Plus 10 to your resistance. And
But
gather
only
2.
when she dies.
Right, when she dies, but that's really
So-
powerful. That is really powerful. Patriarch is obviously inspired by Game of Thrones. Yeah, yeah.
exactly.
I mean, can we look at the illustration real quick?
We love Game of Thrones.
Yep.
And also the artists that we've been working with, and the concept it's like our humble
Homage, I guess?
tribute.
Tribute? Yeah, that
it's
works. Yeah,
like,
tribute.
So landowner, legacy +10 to your resistance and gather 2.
Love that one. Yeah.
Finally,
Traders.
we're going to
Here
finish
we go.
the streaming for. No. We need
Oh,
to
what?
see the.
Oh, that's
the-
right.
the event.
Aristocrat event. Event. I think you've got event.
Inheritance.
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 Inheritance. Right. Gather 2, then draw 3 cards. Oh, there you've got the 3 cards in hand right there.
Exactly. So this is it was previously the event for the aristocrats, but now it's clearly that this card it's going to be part of the engine of the aristocrat deck.
Right.
You gather, so you're not going to run out of deck soon. And for 3, only level 3, you draw 3 cards.
That's really good. That is really good.
So for most players, drawing cards, like most of the card games are based on the Magic the Gathering
Formula?
formula and rhythm, I think,
Mm-hmm.
where you draw 1 card per turn. In Causa, for those who don't know, I don't know if there is someone that don't know seeing this right now. You draw each turn up to you have 4 cards in hand. So sometimes when you start, it's draw a card. Oh, that's amazing. But when you play Causa, you know that a card that makes you drawing other cards, it's not that good because
It's a double-edged sword, isn't it?
yeah,
Because if your deck runs out, you start receiving fatigue
Uh-huh.
damage, and that's a lot of damage.
and also you're playing one of the 2 cards that you can play on that same turn. So you have a lot of options to play your next card, but you will be playing only that card really.
Right, and you can't really combo. I
Exactly.
do like this one though because it's got that gather too. So despite the fact that it's you draw a lot and that might be a bit negative, you also gather 2, so you recover 2 cards for just drawing 3. That's really good. I really like this one.
And also we have it's not going to call fatigue.
Oh no,
No, it's going to
changed.
change the name. It's more like a scarcity. We're going to ask about that on the Discord. I was thinking scarcity, but I don't know if in in English sounds well enough,
It's good. I do like fatigue more.
but fatigue it's not
Yeah, maybe.
precise. We don't know.
All right. Well, if you've got opinions about this, we're talking about the game mechanic in where you receive damage
Mhm.
because you can't draw cards since your deck has run out.
Because
you've
you
got-
don't have more resources.
Right.
So
You ran out of resources, right? And you're trying to get more and you don't have any. So what would you call that when you don't have any resources but you need
it's
more?
scarcity.
Scarce? Yeah, maybe. Maybe.
Because it's resources.
Yeah,
and
it doesn't really flow off the tongue though. If you've got opinions, please join us on our Discord and let us know what you think.
Yeah, fatigue. It's true. And
Fatigue is yeah, it's more common.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But please join our Discord channel and tell us what do you think about it. We have time to yeah, that's true. You,
Fatigue is a well-known word.
probably we're going to keep fatigue, but we're going to ask on the Discord channel. So
Maybe
you're
we get some
welcome
new
to.
ideas. So we're still missing the land, I guess, card for the aristocrats.
And here we have
Ancient palaces.
the ancient palaces.
Says at the start of your turn, if you have 3 or more cards in your hand, grant +1/+1 to your aristocrats. Okay. Yeah. So that's pretty good. So at the start of your turn means that either you did not play that many cards on the previous turn, or maybe you had drawn a lot of cards and you've already got some in your hand, or you have some cards that maybe your opponent is making you draw later on, and that grants +1/+1 to your aristocrats. And that works out pretty well. I do
Mhm.
like that.
And that's part of that's the aristocrat.
And the land
now-
one for the mercenary was a Grotti Tavern, is right?
Uh-huh.
Right.
I wanted to speak about this one before we go with the trader and the naval artillery.
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 Naval artillery. Artillery. That's a hard one to pronounce.
Naval artillery.
Naval-
artillery.
There you go. Activate. Expend 2, then deal 4 damage to all enemy characters. 4 damage to all enemy characters. That's good.
This one, it's the strongest card, the strongest offensive card of the game right now.
I can see why.
It's
Yeah.
the thing. It's level 8. It's really hard to play. I want to see it often on the game, so I think that we'll be receiving more feedback about it. I'm not so sure about high level cards, because if you have really high level cards in your deck, that means that you're not going to be too attracted to require cards. Require means when you play cards from your cost.
Mhm.
And one of the main things of Causa is that you can dedicate those high level cards and you can play it. If you have a level 8, it's
It means you cannot require until
Yeah.
level 8.
and
Otherwise,
in
you'll
level
never be
8
able to play it. And if
maybe
you haven't required and when you get to level 8, then the game might be over
Yeah.
already.
exactly. So
Mm.
it's open to your feedback. Maybe it could be an event of level 7, but we're open to your opinions.
Right.
I want to see it more in play. So
Let's get
trader.
on with the trader. I need to know. I need to know. What about the traders?
The traders. The traders. It's the reward archetype.
So, first thing I want to see. Trinket Vendor says each time a support is destroyed, gather 1. So that's a big change from it was before. Before it used to be each time you play a support, draw 1. So this is a lot more balanced, I guess. Each time a support is destroyed. So destroyed means when you activate its last charge as well, right?
Destroy is when it's destroyed because run out of uses, or
Mhm.
when it's destroyed with any card. And
Right.
also, each time a support. That means that the trinket
Ah.
vendors work when your opponent destroy a support or when you destroy a support.
That's pretty good.
So it's a 1/1/2. It's on the level, and it could be just that simple token,
Right.
or you if you leave it on play or your opponent leave it on the board, That means that you could have all that gathering that you will need if you're playing with a heavy spender wealth deck.
Yeah, it's not. It's very far from being as good as it was before. Um, Especially because since it's a level one and it has gather. Normally at the start of the game, you don't really have much to gather.
Mhm.
But I can totally see it having some uses later on in the game, especially if you've got some more gathering kind of effects. And the second one I wanted to look at was the black market agent, since
Yeah,
he was
but
the other
no, no,
part
no,
of the
no.
strong
We're going
combo.
in order.
Okay, that's fine. That's
So,
fine. I'll look into it later.
Trinket Vendor, we know it changed. It needed to change. It's a common card. It was supposed to be a common card. It couldn't be that complex and game breaker. So, uh, for the lore also goes good. It's a trinket vendor. She's uh, taking things that she found and sell it. So she's gathering what the other are
Discarding, I
this
guess.
yeah
One man's trash and another man's treasure, kind of.
exactly. That's the lore. In fact, the lore is not available in all cards in on English, and also not all, everyone, not all in Spanish. But now that the balance it's better, I will have more time to write the lore for all the cards and also
And translate them.
translate them to English.
Right on.
And so the street vendor. The street vendor was before 1-1-2 initiative draw a card. It was fine, but I think it was too simple for a power card. So now we have a neutral card that does that. I'm going to go on the neutral cards after this,
Okay.
and or maybe the next week.
Maybe
Yeah,
next week. We are kind of running low on time here.
So I'm going to be a little bit faster. So street vendor initiative, everyone expends one and then draws a card. That means that you expend one and your opponent expend one, and you draw a card and your opponent draws a card.
Mhm.
So if that means that you pay, you have, you pay, you have, and everyone. That mechanic it's also on the Silk Merchant. Both cards are on the free set, so everyone expends one, then draw a card.
Okay.
Now the trader it's more focused on making your opponent expend two. Wealth it's the power that expends more, but also it's the power that has more access to gathering. It's the power that has more goods on their abilities.
Mhm.
So that means that you use a lot, you gather a lot, and
That's right. So it's just like the money goes round and round.
exactly. And it's really good with the metaphor of the
Yeah,
game.
it works really well.
Food vendor, invoke supplies.
Nice and easy. I like that.
Crystal vendor, invoke organite.
That's pretty good as well. I do like my organites.
Organite, it's that support of level 2. Activate, grant +1 resistance to any character, then +1 for the turn. That +1 play for the turn.
That's pretty good.
I love that card. We're going to speak a lot of Organite and Soul Ember on the lore sessions.
Awesome. Next up is the Revalian Accountant. Says each time you draw a card, due to an effect that should be due D-U-E, not due. So each time you card due to an draw a card due to an effect, gather one. Okay, so that's kind of a free draw, I guess. It makes so that when you draw, you take a card from your discard and put it back into your deck. So your deck stays in the same sign, but you get more cards in your hand. That's actually pretty good. I like that one.
Then we have another rework of the Relic Valuator. Previously, it has two abilities. It was too complex, too texty for the starter set. So now the ability is each time your opponent plays or activates a support, they expend two.
Wow, that's good.
It's really good.
That's really good.
It's a legendary card, so you can have only one on the board at the same time, but it's only a 1/3.
I'm liking the art on this one. I hadn't seen it before. He's holding up a
Tetraedric.
tetra.
It's like the Malkava amulet.
That's the one I was gonna say.
Or
Yeah, it's like the
maybe,
amulet, isn't it? Maybe, maybe not.
A replica.
Maybe. Yeah, yeah.
He's a relic valuator. This one, it's cheaper than you think.
This one's a fake.
Yeah, exactly.
That's pretty cool. I like that.
And the other great
The black
reward.
market mages. So let me read this one real quick. He says each time you draw a card due to an effect, once again it has to be DUE for due to an effect.
Yeah.
Deal 1 damage to your opponent. Okay, so this is pretty much what it used to be, except instead of 2 damage, it's 1 damage, and you don't have that powerful combo with the trinket vendor anymore. So I think this is a lot more balanced. I do need to see a bit more card draw in wealth right now. I'm seeing a lot of expending, a lot of gathering, but not so much drawing. So, I mean, I got the street vendor and the silk merchant.
So yeah, you have those two, and this one has this new effect, and also lost the hidden ability because it was.
Oh right, it had hidden
Yeah.
as well. Oh, it was so
Yeah,
overpowered.
exactly.
Yeah, so this one used to be hidden as well, so you couldn't even hit him when if he ever ended his turn.
With this card, you can see we hear your feedback.
Yeah.
I didn't wanted to take it out, but yeah, it's healthier for the game, so we made the change.
Next up is the custom agent.
This one stays the same, and these two, the traffickers, both traffickers, the organized trafficker and the soul ember trafficker, their condition to summon this special support is each time you require a card, invoke organite. It's like a metaphor of making some filthy businesses. So you need to take resources from some place that you usually don't, and
There's some shady business
yeah,
going on.
exactly,
over there.
shady business.
I like that. Custom agent sounds really strange. How so? Custom is like maybe I think it should be customs, right, with an S, because custom is kind of pre-built, whereas
Yeah,
customs is kind of like a
she's-
international checkpoint kind of customs area.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, it's customs. It should be with an S.
customs. Yeah.
Customs.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm taking
think-
note.
Yeah, I think it should be with an S. So let me real quick look at the illustration, because I see the Soul Ember Trafficker definitely has Soul Ember in his hand, and the Orgonite Trafficker, is that like a big block of Orgonite? What's that she's
Yeah,
holding there?
yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Oh, that's he though. I thought he was a she. No, it's definitely a he. Maybe.
Yeah. He.
That's pretty cool.
So that's the condition for the trafficker metaphor.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, we're going to go with the main event of the trader. That it's
Trade. right?
trade. Exactly.
I
What
mean,
do
it
the
makes sense.
traders?
They trade.
Make trade.
Says your opponent expends 2 and draw a card. Draws a card? No, and draw. Oh, I guess the wording is a bit strange there. Maybe it should be you draw a card and your opponent expends
No,
2.
your opponent
Oh,
expends
your expend
and draw.
Oh, your opponent draws then.
Draws.
So it
Thank
should be
you.
draws and draws a card, right? Yeah, I thought it was that you would draw, but it's your opponent draws. Oh, so that's interesting. So that means that you're giving him a card, an extra card in his hand, and you're making him spend 2 cards as well. So you've just thrown 3 cards off his deck.
Yeah.
That's
So
pretty good.
there are 3 cards, and the difference with the milling at influence, where it's directly your opponent expends 2 or 3, etc. Here, you make him expend 2 and then draw a card. That means if your opponent already runs out of resources and he or she is forced to draw a card, that means that it will receive the 5 damage.
Uh-huh. So you can actually make them get 5 damage in your turn.
Exactly.
That's pretty
That's
powerful.
the main difference that you have with trade, and also with the street vendor and the silk merchant. You make them draw.
Right. That's interesting. I hadn't seen that one.
So
But
you
yeah.
you have this opportunity to make damage.
Speedrat says customs officer would be the correct term, I believe.
Thank you.
Yeah, it works pretty well. Yeah. Customs officer. Nice. Okay. Now there should be a area for the traders as well. I'm guessing this one, Port Market. Says each time you play a trader, everyone expends one and draws a card. Oh, there you go. Yeah, that kind of keeps
Yeah.
playing into that,
Exactly.
making your opponent draw. That one needs the keyword for expend. Yeah, that should have a mouse over on expend. So you need to add that keyword into it. But yeah, Port Market. I feel like the traders definitely have their playstyle set up. It's a lot different than when it used to be, but I'm liking this one a lot more. It feels a bit more balanced, and I'm liking the fact that you can make your opponent lose from fatigue in your turn. I like that.
The both archetypes that are more oriented to fatigue the opponent are the skimmer and the trader.
Right.
The other archetypes are more damage focused or have some space to have some movements.
Mm-hmm. Well, speaker
Cards
says
for
draw.
yeah,
Everyone does
exactly.
Starfall. Yeah. All right. Well, I think that about covers it for today. I'm not sure we can keep going.
Hi,
Get back to
how are
work.
you?
Hey, welcome. You kind of missed the stream though. We're just about to wrap things up. This will be on YouTube though. It should get uploaded soon enough. So if you missed the stream, you can definitely catch it there on YouTube. And we will
Don't
definitely
worry.
have Nico back for more. I'm liking this stream because I don't have to talk so much, and Nico gets to talk a lot about lore, and you guys get to hear a lot about the lore as well. And I really like hearing about the lore as well. So I'm liking this stream setup. This should happen more often. We do have more streams coming up, so if you missed this one, definitely check us out next week. We stream every Thursday at
3
what-
p.m. GMT minus 3.
yeah, so GMT minus 3 at 3 p.m. I'm not sure. Okay, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So if you understand, I'm not sure how that works, but if you understood that, it's Thursday at 3 p.m. at GMT minus 3. That's our streaming time. So please join us next time,
And please join us on Discord. And thank you, everyone, that it's going to help us on this new stage on the internal testing that we're starting right now. If you want to
Yes.
know more, you can ask me on Discord.
Yes. So please hop on Discord. Be sure to like us, follow, subscribe, all that jazz. And we will see you next week.
Thank you, everyone.
Oh,
Thank you so much.
I do need to tab out here so we can actually end the stream. So, bye-bye.
Bye.